Hello, this is Herb Ellis, and I'd like to welcome you to my musical video. Together with the help of Ray Brown and Terry Holmes, I'd like to answer some questions about guitar playing that have been asked me by guitar players all over the world. The first thing we're going to do is talk about tuning up, or we're going to tune up. I advise using a tuner, guitar tuner, especially if you're playing with two or three guitars. It's pretty important to use a tuner because no matter how good your ear is, you get three guitars together and tune up without a tuner, you may sound like rats escaping from a sinking ship. So if you can, use a tuner. And even though you use a tuner, when you're on stage playing, you're going to have to tune up by yourself. There's no escape from being able to tune the guitar by yourself. So we're going to start by tuning the strings individually. I'll give you my pitch, and I'll hit each string. First the E, and then the A, and the D, and the G, and the B, and the little E. After you get that, you're in the ballpark. Now, to fine-tune the guitar, I really recommend this and strongly advise it. Tune the guitar in octaves from here to here, because even though you get the guitar in tune open strings, it very well may not play in tune all over, because the guitars are an imperfect instrument. So you play some octaves. Then you just play octaves all over the guitar. that was a fifth, but that's okay too. Now that we're in tune, in this segment, I'd like to play some, with the help of Terry Holmes, I'd like to play some blues in the key of G. This is a simple blues with simple chord formation. First I'll play, and then I'll tell you how I do it. Here we go, Terry. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to show you the way I approached playing that blues that we just played. I play mostly by chord formations, as opposed to thinking of a lot of scales, and it's very confusing to me. So I just play by chord formations. On that blues that we played in G, which was a very simple blues, I mean simple in its harmonic structure, I only use 2 formations, and I'm going to show them to you now. The first one is a G chord, this G chord. Everybody knows this chord. I'll play a scale, a major scale from this chord formation. I could play it back up, but that's for you to figure out. Now I'm going to play a chromatic scale from the same chord formation. Now I'm going to play the major scale, flatting the F sharp to make it an F, to make it a G7th chord. Now you've got, with those 2 scales and the chromatic scale, you've got every note that you could possibly play from this formation. Now I'm going to show you the other formation that I use in this simple G blues. It's this. First I'll play a chromatic. Now I'll play 2 scales from this chord formation. Here's another one. Again, from this formation, with playing the chromatic scale, there's no note that you can't play. And when this is the C ninth, C seventh, when you play the D seventh in this blues progression, you just move the whole thing up to D. You got it. And it takes all the mystery, a lot of the mystery out of the way to play the guitar, jazz-wise. A very important thing that I'm going to tell you right now, and I may tell you several times because it is that important to me. When I'm playing, I sing what I play, or I'm playing what I sing. And any guitarist, all the guitarists that I know, that I like, and on other instruments also, sing what they play. Or they play what they sing, whichever way you want it. I'll name some besides myself. Joe Pass, Wes Montgomery did it. George Benson certainly does it. You can hear him doing it because it's part of his act to do it. Oscar Peterson does it. Ray Brown. And a lot of horn players. You can't tell that horn players are doing it because they got the horn in their mouth. But that's the one single thing I want to impress on you. You've got to start singing the melodies you're playing. That way, you're using the guitar to express the music that's in you, in your head and in your heart. Otherwise, you're just playing a bunch of learned scales and patterns. And you may get to where you can play a lot of patterns and play them very fast, but it'll always sound like you're playing a lot of patterns. So please start to play the music that's within you, and we all have music within us. I'm just trying to show you how to turn the faucet on, the musical faucet. That's good, isn't it? The musical faucet to let the music come out. Now I'm going to show you, with the help of Terry Holmes, what you can play or what you can do with this one chord formation. Actually, this G formation I'm thinking of it as a G7th. So you hear this in your mind. You hear the G7th. You might hear the flatted 5th. So you play it in your scale, or just play the flatted 5th. Or you might hear the augmented 5th. Or you might hear the 9th. Or you might hear the flatted 9th. All those are right there for you to play. So I'm going to play a vamp, an extended vamp, on this G chord. And I'm going to try to start simple and get more complex as I go along. Also, remember this. We're playing it in G. That doesn't mean that you can only play this in G. It means you can play it anywhere on the neck. Anywhere that this chord formation is, you can play it. So, here we go. G, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to play on the C9 formation. And I'm just going to play, Terry's going to vamp, and I'm going to play extended on this C9 formation. Trying to start simple and getting more complicated. I'm not going to do this on the D9 because it's the same thing. All you have to do is move it up 2 frets. So here we go on C9. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now we're going to involve you, the listener and viewer, for the first time. We're going to play G7, and we're just going to continue to play it in 4-bar segments. I'm going to play 4 bars, with Terry's going to vamp. He's going to continue to vamp, and then you'll play 4, then I'll play 4. It's like we're trading 4s, but it's all on the G formation. So this will show you not only how to play on this formation, it'll give you hopefully some incentive to play a better 4 bars than I have just played. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do the same thing in the C formation. No, I'm wrong. It's the next 4 bars of the blues, which will be 2 bars of C9 and 2 bars of G9, or C7 and G7. Here we go. Terry, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. So you can do the same thing on the D7, D9 formation. Now we're going to put it all together one more time and play the whole blues for you a few times, 3 or 4 times. And we hope that you get a lot from this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to play some more blues for you. A lot of this musical video will be blues because I believe the blues is the best possible way to teach you to play jazz. If you can't play blues, any of the rest of the jazz you would attempt to play, in my opinion, would be quite meaningless. So, this blues is a little more elaborate than the first blues we showed you. The first blues was very simple harmonic structure. This has some different chords, so we're going to play it 3 or 4 courses. Then we're going to show you what we're doing that's different. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm going to play this blues for you, the chord formation of this blues, the progression. It's a little different because it's got a couple of new chords in it that we didn't play on the first blues. So here it is. Bar 1, G13. Bar 2, C9th. Bar 3 and 4, G7th or G13th again. Bar 5 and 6, C9th. Bar 7, G9th. Bar 8, E7th, E9. That's the new chord. Here's another introduction. A7th, and then D7th, bar 11, 2 beats each. G, E, and bar 12, A, and D. I'm going to show you a new chord formation that we haven't played from before. We're still in the key of G, which just sort of simplifies the whole thing, but as I said before, it doesn't mean it won't work in any key. It'll work in any key. Before I was playing the G formation here. Now I've moved it up to here, to the 7th fret. And you combine this one with the one you already knew, the G9th, which is the same as the C9th or the D9th. It's just up higher on the neck. And the 7th and the 8th bar in this progression is a little different. Here is the difference. It goes from a G13th to an E13th, or a G7th to an E7th. So it would, if you're going to play those two bars, let me just play those two bars for you. The thing is, which gives it the real flavor, is when you go to the E chord, you don't have to play the 3rd, but if you play it, if you employ it once in a while, it really sparkles. It makes the chord just stand out, which is what's different about this progression. So I think we're going to play that blues progression, the whole thing, 2 more times for you. Terry, here we go. This is the whole 12 bars. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I'd like to talk just a little bit about the progression 2, 5, 1. We're going to play 4 bars. I'm going to play 4 bars. Terry's going to accompany me. Then he's going to play 4 more bars where I don't play. That's your time to play. The first progression is going to be 2, 5, 1 with a minor. A minor 7th, 1 bar. D 7th, 1 bar. G 7th, 2 bars. Then again the same thing. A minor 7th bar, D 7th, G 7th, 2 bars. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to do almost the same thing, except that the 2 chord, instead of being A minor 7, is going to be A 7th. So it'll be a bar of A 7th, a bar of D 7th, 2 bars of G 7th. We all have favorite things in music. I personally like the A 7th sound better than I do the A minor to D 7th, although I can live with either one. But the difference is making the C a C sharp. So if you're playing A minor 7th, here would be the scale. And the arpeggio. Now that's the A minor 7th. The A 7th is. This one as opposed to this one. When you're playing the A minor 7th, you can go up to a C major 7th and play a scale right off of the C major 7th. A 7th or A minor 7th. Now we've played the A minor progression for you, so now we're going to play the A 7th, D 7th, G 7th for 2 bars. It's a 4-bar progression. Here we go. I'm going to play 4. You're going to play 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to add the ever popular magic E 7th, or the 6th chord. And this progression is going to start on the 2 chord. I'm going to use A 7th, D 7th, G 7th, E 7th. And I'm going to play them over and over again. I'm going to play 4 bars, you're going to play 4 bars. And let me just reiterate to you one more time. Not always, but a lot of the times, when I'm going from the G to the E, I would use this formation for the G, and for the E I go. That's very important to get the third of the, get the G sharp in there. You might want to practice this little scale a while. So the 2 going from the G to the E would sound like this. And then the A to the D 7th, which is same thing as the E 7th. Now this is sort of a complicated progression, so we're going to play it a little slower for you. Okay, here I'll play the first 4, and you got the second 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. let's talk about picking. Picking is sort of like putting in golf. It's very individual. It's individual in the stroke that you use. It's individual in the kind of pick that you choose. I have a hard pick, and it's about the size of a quarter. I place it between the first finger and the thumb. Very natural. And most of it is in the meat of my hand, between the thumb and the forefinger. About a fourth of it sticks out, I guess. And I play not totally flat. I play across the string at an angle, but at a natural angle, just like you were going to hammer a nail, at a very natural angle. I see players play like this. Now, I said it's an individual thing, but if you play like that and you can change it, I would strongly advise it, because I think you're going to have trouble later on. I'm serious. I think you're going to get some arthritic problems playing like that, because I don't care who you see do it or how hip it looks. It's a big strain on the hand, and it's a strain on all the muscles. So if you can play in a normal fashion. The only thing I can tell you about picking, something else I can tell you, is you don't have to pick every note. That's a real blessing, because if I had to pick every note, I'd never be able to do it, especially at a fast tempo. What I mean by that is I'm not picking all of those. Some of them I'm picking, some of them not. Some of them I'm not picking. I ghost some of the notes, and that helps. Not only does it take the strain off of you, it sounds better, because you don't hear a trumpet player or a saxophone player tonguing every note. They don't go taka, 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 taka. They make it flow. So pick in a nice, don't grip the pick too hard. Just firm, but not so much to cut the circulation off. I can show you a couple of exercises that might help you. And another thing, while I'm thinking of it, don't have big strokes. Make the strokes small. Economy is the thing in picking. You don't want a lot of motion. Now, some exercises. You can take scales. And I would suggest that you play the scale or a pattern, anything you want. First of all, play it all down, and so forth. Then play it all up. Then play it up and down. That was down and up. Then play it up and down. Now you've got every possible way to pick. Down, all up, down, up, down. Then you vary your patterns with leaving a string between, like playing from the 6th string to the 4th string, the 4th string to the 2nd string, and so forth. And the fun thing is you can make up your own phrases or your own licks to practice by. And as far as talking about practicing, let me just say one thing. When you practice, if you're going to practice reading or picking or whatever, do that first. Because if you pick up the guitar and start to play some blues and jam and freak out, you'll never get to the other things. Never. So you want to do the things that are maybe even distasteful to you. Do them first, then get to the fun part. And you'll make a lot of progress that way. Let's talk about background. It's very important to learn how to play backgrounds for your fellow players. That includes, as I played background for Ray Brown earlier in this video cassette, the same type of backgrounds I played for him basically would be the same I'd play for a piano player or a saxophone player or a trumpet player or a trombone player or perhaps another guitar player. One type of background that's really overlooked these days is playing rhythm. A lot of players don't have any idea how to play rhythm. First of all, many guitarists play it too loud. If you're playing it on electric guitar, don't have much volume on. Keep the volume very low, and keep the chords that you play very simple and sparse. I usually play 3 notes in these chords on 3 strings, sometimes on 2 strings. Rarely do I play 4 strings, never 5, and never ever 6 in playing rhythm, unless I'm playing a ballad and I want a lush background, but that's different. For now, so I will show you what I played behind Ray Brown earlier, rhythm-wise. This is basically what it is. Now let me show you the type of chord forms that I use to play that rhythm background. They're basically 3-note chords, sometimes 2. For instance, if I was playing a G7, it would be this, or this. Or I might play this, has no 7th in it, but you don't need it. You don't need the 7th with the solos, for playing behind the solos. And if I'm playing a 6th chord, a C6, instead of playing, I would play. And then for a diminished chord, I would play not this, or not this. Just 3 notes. So the notes would look, the chord formations would look Now, that's the type of rhythm backgrounds I would play. And you make the stroke, you make it long. In other words, you don't play short, you don't play, you play. Similar to that. Now, another thing that I do is I comp, similar to a piano player, behind other people who are playing solos. By the way, if you learn to play good backgrounds on the guitar, you'll work a lot more than if you just play great solos and no backgrounds. Because unless it's your group, people will want you to play behind them. And they love it when you play great solos, but let's face it, they don't care as long as they're playing great solos, but when they play, they want you to play well behind them. So that's very important. Now let's take approximately the same tempo, and I'll show you how I would comp. Sometimes it's 2 notes, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Key of G blues, 1, 2, blues in G. By the way, that was on the second blues progression we played, the one that went to the E7th and to the A7th and D7th. So that's about it. If I'm playing background for a ballad, I would make it more lush. There's a chance for you to use bigger chords and more lush voicings playing a ballad, because you don't confuse anything. Remember two things: when you're soloing, sing what you play. When you're playing a background, play less than you need to play. All right, we're going to talk about sound at this point. First of all, let me tell you the kind of equipment that I use. My guitar is a Gibson ES-175. It's quite old. It's a 1953. I've had the pickup changed in it, a newer type pickup. Sometimes pickups will lose their power after a few years, so if you're having a lot of trouble with the guitar humming or roaring or feeding back, you might consider putting a new pickup in it. And while I'm at this, let me just take time out to say one thing to you about your pickup. If you have a pickup that has the screws under each string, they're there for a reason. They're there to be adjusted. I'd say 95% of the guitar players never touch those screws in the pickups. I don't know why. I don't know why they think they're there. They're there to be raised and lowered. It is my opinion, and it makes the guitar easy for me to play, if I can get the strings to have approximately the same volume. Here's the way you do that. You take the screw under the little E string and raise it as high as it'll go without it rattling. You don't want it to rattle against the string. Then you turn your amplifier on and you hit the B string, and it will be probably much louder than the E string. So you take a screwdriver and screw it down till you can get it to as near the same volume as the E string. Then you do that with the rest of the strings. You screw them up or down as they need it, as much as they need it, so that they'll be the same volume. Now I use a polytone amplifier, a smaller model. There's several models. And the way I set mine is I set the bass control on the amplifier approximately at 3. I set the treble at about 7. If it has a mid-range, I set that right in the center, usually. Each place you play will vary. You may have to vary the settings on it. And then once I get that set, then I get the tone, bassy, more bass or more treble from the guitar. I like a little darker, bassier sound, but you may like a different sound. Whatever sound you want, that's what the dials are for. But they mean a lot, and it means a lot to set your amplifier and to adjust the screws on your guitar. Believe me, it means a lot. So take time out and do it right. One of the questions I'm asked is, who are my musical influences? And jazz-wise, I would have to say first, the great guitarist Charlie Christian, who played with Benny Goodman, with the Benny Goodman Sextet and the Benny Goodman Orchestra in the late 30s and early 40s. And Charlie Christian died when he was 23 years old. And he is the most copied jazz guitarist of anybody. He was a big influence. Then Lester Young with the Count Basie Orchestra was a very heavy influence on me. The whole Count Basie band, the sound of the Count Basie band was a big influence, as was the Jimmy Lunsford band. So it would be Charlie Christian, Lester Young, Charlie Parker, and Dizzy Gillespie. Those would be my main influences. Of course, I heard and I loved and was influenced some by Django Reinhardt. But those gentlemen were the strongest influences on me. I'm also asked a lot what I consider the main ingredients of jazz music. And for me, in this order, they are rhythm. Well, what I mean by that is rhythmical playing, playing with rhythm, playing with time, playing that so that it makes you feel good, the melodic content and the harmonic content, and the technique to do all that with. But I've certainly placed the rhythmic feel first, then the melody, then the harmony. I hear a lot of players who seem to put harmony first and the rhythmic content last, if at all, and a great influence, or not influence, but a great emphasis on how many notes can be played. That's the backwards order as far as I'm concerned. I'm also asked, where do you go from here, Herb? Which I find when I'm on the road is quite humorous. Who cares where I go from here? So I can't answer that. From here, I'm going home.